win up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, have me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I'll do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, told her if it's all me, everything is on me, gon' back it up. Matter what, told you I'ma do me, why you hating on me, it's not adding up. I do roll like a Mack truck, country heart, I might cop a farm and go act up. Lot of scars, I was cold-hearted, now I'm back up. Keep it real, I do this once a month, I don't rap much. I just take the money and go stack up.
What up, what up, what up? What's going on, Savannah? It's your boy, Julius Campbell, and I got a guest with me today. We're going to talk tonight. We're going to educate. We're going to empower. We're going to participate. It's voting time. But before we even get on that, let me give a shout out to Marie. Marie is not with us today. She's had death in the family, so we definitely want to keep her in our thoughts and our prayers. What up to AB, Julius Hall, who was giving us this platform to do what we do, and we are definitely appreciative of that. Who are we? Ain't to ain't, incarceration to incorporation. What do? We provide a platform for men and women who are returning home from incarceration to tell their stories of success. We are successful. That false narrative that's being purported today is wrong. We want people to understand that we are successful educationally, organizationally, occupationally, relationally. We are successful. When we get out, we're not always returning back. And that's what right. Ain't is all about. We are telling you that we are successful. I got my partner Fred on. He's going to talk to us tonight about what we're talking about. The subject is voting, voters registration, getting out to vote. But I want to tell you a little bit about what's behind me, and it's called OAA Savannah. OAA Savannah is Offender Alumni Association Savannah. What do? Provide a safe space for men and women to tell their stories. 3 types of categories. Number 1, returning citizens. Number 2, relatives of returning citizens. And number 3, resources for returning citizens. This platform is for you so that you would know where those employment opportunities are, so that you would know where healthcare is, where you may know where housing is. That is why we are doing what we're doing. But let's get ready to get on. Who do I have with me today? Fred, what up? Tell the people about yourself.
Hey, man, I'm Fred Green. Julius, I appreciate you allowing me to be on this platform, Filling the Gaps Ministry. I'm a clinical social worker, but formerly incarcerated individual. And me and Julie have been working together with Impact, Inform Marginalized People Power, and Cultivated Transformation to get out and talk about voter registration for impacted system, justice system impacted individual. What does that mean? That means, Julius, in the state of Georgia, if you off paper, you can register to vote and you can exercise your power of the vote. My shirt said, he that vote hold the power. So I know we're going to get into it tonight and talk a little bit about voter apathy and why people that are in marginalized communities may not want to vote, but your vote counts. I want you to know that. I'm going to say that one more again, Julius. Everyone vote counts. Oftentimes, people may think that their vote doesn't count, but it does.
That's why I want to talk about those who are returning citizens. I've recently learned that there are over 80,000 returning citizens who are no longer on probation or parole, and they have an opportunity to make their voices heard. But many of them are not either A, aware of this, or B, encouraged to use their voice. And so again, that is why we are here tonight. And if you would you hit that share button? If you know a returning citizen, or anybody for that matter, especially African American or Latino, black and brown skin, but we want to encourage and motivate people to vote because your voice matters. And so that is why we are here tonight. So if you would, right now, hit that share button so that you will be a part of encouraging the masses to vote. We want to educate, motivate, participate. It's time to vote. So, Fred, tell us a little bit. Well, first of all, before you tell us about the history, I want to tell them a little bit about impact. What Fred and I, and also my wife, what we're doing is we've been given the privilege, the opportunity to be a part of a team that is getting out across the country to push people, motivate them to vote. And with this opportunity comes responsibility. And so we thought it would be an awesome chance to come on tonight and move you and motivate you to voting. And so we thankful for this opportunity from Charlotte Garnes and the Impact team for this opportunity for us to do what we're doing today, especially us returning citizens. So, Fred, tell me the history that we need to know about voting.
Well, I want to say first, it was a great privilege for me to vote for the first time. When I thought that I couldn't vote, and I was able to register after I completed my parole sentence after like 6.5, almost 7 years on parole. And I was able to go out and I was able to vote for the first time, something that I never exercised, which is my constitutional right. Constitutional right, I said, that I wasn't able to exercise previously. And so it was a very rewarding experience, and I've been voting ever since. And I feel that my vote matters, and I feel that my votes count. As it relates to historical context, Julius,
right?
I want to kind of give people a little bit of historical context behind voting. So I took a couple of notes, and I'm not going to drag it out long because you can do your own research. This is not a new concept. Earlier societies were very small and didn't need a political system. They were ruled by the monarch. We talk about the death of Queen Elizabeth. So the monarchy pretty much ruled everything, okay? After the American Revolution, colonies were created and formed what we call today a democracy, all right? What does the root word democracy mean? Democracy means power to the people. I don't think you heard me, Julius. I'm going to say that one more again. Democracy means power to the people.
Power to the people.
Right? Power to the people. So the people wanted to rise up against the monarch, right? They became antagonistic against the monarch and formed what you call a government, which through the political system allowed decision-making processes to be in the hands of the people. Okay. All right? Which is a fundamental constitutional right. All right. Dwight Eisenhower quoted saying the future of this republic is in the hands of the American voter. That was the 34th president, y'all. He said the future of this republic. So some people say, well, okay, we say the Pledge of Allegiance. What's the difference between a republic and a democracy? All right. I'm glad you asked, Julius. What's the difference between and the viewing audience? What is the difference between a republic? Why do we say republic to which it stands, to the republic, to which it stands in the Pledge of Allegiance, but we say we are a Democrat? Well, the republic is like the umbrella and the democracy falls up under it. Okay? So when you're talking about a republic, and we're going to get into that when I start talking about terminologies, when you talk about a republic, that was the way society was able to take and rest all of the decision-making power to the hands of the people under a representative government, but not under a monarchical government.
Right.
So I'm going to say that one more again. So instead of us being ruled by kings and queens, the republic said, nah, we're going to be ruled by government, but only through the people. The people is the one that elect the government officials in order for us to make decisions and have the power that we have today.
So in other words, the reason why that's so important is because of what you stated earlier, that it's in the people's hand in order to change things. And that's why it says that we play a part. The people play a part in who is in office. But the only way we can play a part is if we are active and intentional in our voice, correct?
In our voice, and making sure that if we go dig it, we go unpack that a little bit more. We got to make sure that we have the right elected officials that's placed in office that will work to our benefit and according to our interests.
Okay.
Other than that, we remove them as the people that hold the power.
Okay.
All right. Now, at the founding of the United States, you always had a two-party system, but it wasn't called Democrat and Republican at first. It was called Federalist, right? Which focused on creating a strong central government, or anti-federalists, which were states' rights. All right. Today, America has a multi-party system. We know about Democrat, we know about Republican. Now there's independent. There's reform, which was created in 1992. You have libertarian, and you have the Green Party.
Okay.
But the most that we know that run the system is Democratic and Republican.
Okay.
Okay. Now, some may say, okay, well, Fred, well, you know, both of them the same thing. I would agree. Okay. They are two. I always say they are two birds of the same, two wings of the same bird, two fangs of the same snake.
Okay.
Okay. But the thing that we have to do is hold our elective, whether Democratic or Republican, hold them accountable. And that's the point I want to hold on. I think that's the gap. The gap is that we elect these officials, but we never hold them accountable, Julius.
Now, before you go there about holding them accountable, because we know that some things have changed. So when you talk about holding them accountable, have you dealt with the terminology? Because a lot of people don't even understand the terminology of voting. For example, what is polls? What are voter registration? What are ballots? Can you just tell us briefly, not to go in depth, because again, we don't want to lose our audience, but just go systematic for me.
Well, let me finish up with a little bit of the history.
Okay.
All right. So this is not a foreign thing, as I said. So let me tell you about the voting process historically or in antiquity, right? Athens, city-state of Greece, practiced a democracy 2,500 years ago.
Okay.
Each free male above a certain age having the right to vote. So voting ain't no new thing. For you biblical scholars out there, casting lots was a form of kind of voting.
Tell me.
Some people say it's kind of like gambling, but it was a form of voting because they voted after Judas, for biblical scholars now, after Judas was, because he hung himself. Right. So they had to replace the 12, right? So they voted or cast lots to put Matthias in to take his place.
That's true.
Am I right or wrong, Julius?
You are right. That's biblical.
Right. Then Native American tribes elected their chiefs. Okay. And some even elected women to the office of chief. So I don't want you to think that this voting process, democratic process, has been something that's new.
Okay.
Then I want to go a little bit into the 15th Amendment, which was ratified in 1870. Which allow voting rights for all men and races. All right. Okay. So we know that the voting rights are 1865, and I'm giving 1965. I'm giving this context because we want to understand that as it relates to African Americans, people of color, as you alluded to earlier, you know what I'm saying, that allowed us to be able to have voting rights, right? Because there was voter disenfranchisement, Jim Crow laws, right? The poll taxes, which were during that time, during the civil rights era, where it was equivalent to $2 per year, which most people couldn't afford. Okay. You were under Jim Crow laws, you will be saying, why? Well, how can you vote if you can't count how many bubbles on a bar of soap, right? How many marbles was in a jar? How many jelly beans was in a jar?
So in other words, what you're saying was there's always been some form of whatever that would try to hinder us from voting.
And the reason why I'm saying that also, Julia, is because this is for the people who may be apathetic.
Okay.
This is, well, I'm going to lead into the terminologies now. This might be for people who are apathetic and say that the vote don't count. If somebody is working that hard to keep you from exercising your right to vote, there has to be something behind it.
I agree.
It has to be some type of power behind it where individual will go to that extent to change laws and policies and prohibit certain segments of the society from voting, that means it holds some type of value.
Yes.
That's why I led into that.
Okay.
Okay. Even to the point where it was the grandfather clause. If your grandfather, who might have been enslaved and you knew he couldn't vote, that he couldn't, if he couldn't vote, you couldn't vote.
Right.
Okay. So that's just giving a little bit of the historical context behind voting and showing that voting has always been around in some form or fashion. So we need to exercise today this power to vote. And when it comes to justice system impacted people or individuals, it's even more important because that is how we can change laws and policies that affect justice system impacted people.
Now stop right there for just 1 minute. Stop right there.
Right.
I see you, Christopher Carswell. I appreciate you watching with us. Please hit that share button. Definitely, if you know others that are justice impacted or returning citizens, because we want to motivate them and move them to vote. And what up, Tisha? Always from Vegas, talking to us. We want you to do the same, sister. Would you hit that share button? Because we want to empower and educate and encourage, especially our Black and brown brothers and sisters, to get out and vote. And Fred is getting ready to specifically hone in on the importance of our justice impacted people in voting. Go ahead, Fred.
So I'm gonna segue now, Julius, into terms. Okay. And apathy is, voter apathy is at the top, not just because it starts with an A, but because that's what we run into. When promoting voter registration and voting, a lot of times in our community, I hear, man, that it doesn't count. They gonna do what they want to do anyway. Don't come to me with that. I don't want to be a part of that system. I ain't voting. It doesn't work. You know, that's what you call voter apathy. That's indifference or inaction on a part of an individual or a group as it relates to the political process.
Correct.
I started off with that because I wanted to say that if you do nothing, nothing will happen.
True that.
If you don't, people bled and died. Now I'm talking to people of color. People bled and died. Your ancestors bled and died for you to have the right to vote. Now, Judas, you recognize that when we went to certain communities, when we was canvassing for impact, whites, people that are Caucasian or the Caucasian ethnicity or group, they were like, yeah, I'm already registered. I'm ready to vote. And there's a centralized power in certain areas that's been gentrified, and we're going to get into gentrification and gerrymandering, that is a centralized power or group that's in those areas that was once Black, that now are primarily the focus area. So guess what? They are the ones that hold the power. They are the ones that are bringing the resource. People say the hood, right? I say hood or when the neighbors move out. It's a neighborhood. And when neighbors move out, they take the resources and everything that's beneficial for a community away.
Right.
So when you move back in and you got centralized power, then you can control who are your elected officials. You can control taxes. You can control the school district, what resources the schools have, what's in an area, the jobs, the employment, the career opportunities.
Criminal reform.
Everything.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I interrupted you, Fred, because in no way are we trying to be divisive. We are just being factual. And when we went out to canvass these neighborhoods, we recognized the enthusiasm and the excitement of from one ethnicity to the next as it relates to voting. A lot of those of our Black and brown perspective were not excited about it. They were not educated about it. They really didn't have that passion to do it. But those of the other ethnicity, they were like, good job. We're glad y'all out here registering. We already voted. We are already registered. So you saw the differentiation between the excitement, the education, and the passion. And so for us African Americans and Latino, how can we sit around and say we want change, but we are not able or willing to get out and make change? Go ahead, Fred.
And another piece of that is because the other A to that is accountability.
Okay.
Your vote will count, right? If we hold our elected officials accountable.
How do we do that?
By knowing what they stand for, what are their platforms, and holding them. And we're going to get into that when I talk about some of the roles. I think the gap is, Julius, is that people get our votes, they get in office. We don't know. So most people you talk to, they say, well, I'm just voting Democrat or I'm just voting Republican. They don't even know what Democrat is, what Republicans stand for. They don't understand what the Public Service Commissioner does. They don't understand the role of the alderman. They don't understand the role of the mayor. They don't understand how to hold them accountable. That's why this educational platform is so important. Because now is a time where we need to educate ourselves not only about the people that's running for office and their platform, but even much so, what even are their roles? What is it that they're supposed to do? So we can say, okay, I understand this is what I need to hold them accountable for. All right. But we'll get into that when we get into roles, because I wrote down a couple of roles and a couple of positions, elected offices, and what their roles are. All right. So what is gerrymandering? That's manipulation of electoral districts. So you're not just talking about gentrification, which is larger than gerrymandering, because gentrification is when one group come in, restore a whole community, and centralize the power. But gerrymandering is the whole district. So basically, that's like redlining, where I draw a red line around a whole area and say, okay, I'm only going to let this group of people in, or these group of people in. These type of group of people going to be out. And guess what? We're going to centralize the power right there. What is a republic? Modern republic would say the idea that sovereignty rests with the people. Sovereignty does rest with us if we hold our officials accountable. You know just as well as I do, and everybody else that's tuning in, we didn't hold Obama accountable like we should have. To do something for Black people specifically. And I'm not afraid to say that, because every other group gets certain things from their elected officials. But if we say that we are a marginalized group, if justice system impacted people are a marginalized group, and Blacks are disproportionate, then we should have held them accountable to do something specific for Black people, just like every other culture. All right? What is a democracy? A government whose authority comes from the people. That's what a democracy is. We say we live in a democracy. The authority don't come from the elected officials, Julius. They come from the people.
But I need you, Fred, because I want you to definitely tell us about the roles. But I must interject, and I see you, Connie Brown. I'm glad that you're with us. What's up, Jerry? I see you as well. But I need you to be more practical, because a lot of people don't understand, again, what you stated from the beginning. The power is in the people's hand, but if the people don't use their hand, then there is no power. So help us to understand, how can we hold our elected officials accountable? For example, I hear a lot of elected officials during voting time run to these different churches that they have never been to before, and a lot of our religious ignorant people, and I don't say that bad, I just say that factually, religious ignorance. Ignorance just simply means you don't know. A man or a woman comes in, they shoot you a dream about what they're going to do, and you never find out if they are doing it. So, Fred, how can we hold these people accountable? Because there are many churches who can call up their representative and demand some answers. Yes or no?
Well, you just gave the answer. Call the elected officials, talk about what's going on in the community, demand answers. Attend city council meetings, attend neighborhood association meetings, so you could be in the know about what's going on in the community. And that's the way to be able to hold your elected official, know what their platforms are.
Right.
You know, what are they running on? Like, for instance, Stacey Abrams, she's run on operations. Since we talk about justice system impacted people, it's only 5 states, and I can't tell you what they are, but it's 5 states. You go look it up, that have Operation Clean Slate. So after you serve your time and you're off probation or parole for a certain amount of time, they wipe your slate clean. Well, we need to push that on any politician that's running that Georgia needs Operation Clean Slate as well. So if we don't know their platforms neither and what they're running on, then you won't know what to hold them accountable for. So
how
don't
do
just
you learn their platforms, Fred?
by going on. Everything is online. Everything is at the click of a button right now. You could go on, and anybody that's running for elective offices, they have something online, they have something on Facebook, they are posting stuff, and you can see their bio, you can see what are their policies, what they're stating that they're going to do for the people. Then you will know. But what happens to us? We just vote because guess what? We think because the person is black, or the person is white, or the person said they want to do this, they're going to do this, and then we don't know what, because we voted Democratic because of our family all our lives, or we voted Republican because of our family all our lives, and I'm just going to go and vote Democratic. I don't care who owns the ticket. And we do that. And so now is a time to do it a little bit differently, all right? Because you have what you call, and I'm going to give you another term, direct democracy, right? A direct democracy is eligible voters meet to discuss issues and then make their decision. Maybe we need to start having meetings before these people run. Like you said at the churches, we have meetings and bring these elected officials in and make them explain to us what are they going to do for the communities we live in before we make our decision. All right. Voter disenfranchisement. Groups of people that have been stripped of their ability to vote. Right now in Georgia, they say what? You can't pass out water. And elderly people are sitting in lines, right? Mail-in voting. We can't do mail-in voting. Colorado did a great job at making sure that they're pushing mail-in voting for people who can't get to the polls.
Right.
You know, so these are we might need to start lobbyist groups. All right. Lobbyists is influential groups that sway elected officials. It's money flowing. So we might need to start our own PACs and super PACs, political action committees. Churches I think because of separation of church and state, and a lot of churches are exempt from taxes, so they don't want to touch it. But outside of that, organizations may need to start PACs, you know, where they can start talking to elected officials, and then whatever are the interests, they can start making elected officials sway toward their interests. Lobbyists, right. You go to the state capitals and you go to the state capitals during time, you see lobbyists running around all day long. If it's about dairy and milk, you got lobbyist groups for that. If it's about marijuana laws, you got lobbyist groups who are putting the press on elected officials. We talk about boxing people in, and in the chain gang, you talk about putting the press on people. Well, we need to put the press on these elected officials. We need to box them in.
Check this out, Fred. Check this out. Boxing them in. I want to say this again. We're incarceration to incorporation. And what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about educating, motivating, and participating in voting. And Fred, I want you, because I believe that you are educated in this area. I know that when Mr. Warnock came into office, it was because a lot of African American and a Latino got to the streets, got to the polls, made a difference. Well, if we did that then, just like we did with Barack Obama, we can also do that again right now. Why is it that many of us are not out doing this?
Because of people I told you about that apathy. People just feel like the voting process doesn't count. We hear the same story, the same old things happen, and nothing changed. But I want you to know that because things are changing, things are different. You know, you can hold Warnock accountable for his platform and the things that he said he want to change. And when we get into the job of a senator, then I'm going to describe to you some of the functions of a senator so you will know how to hold them accountable.
Well, matter of fact, Fred, because of time's sake, let's move into their roles.
All right. So let's talk about some of the roles. And this stuff is researchable, y'all. You can go and look up this stuff just like you go on Facebook every day, Instagram every day. You know, let's start using social media for what it was its intended purposes.
Right.
In order to do business, in order to be able to find and research information. And you were able to do that just like I went and did. City council, they make decisions and they set policy direction every day.
Right.
So you can hold your city council members, your aldermen, accountable for policies and referendums and different things that they are putting up inside, especially Savannah or within the city limits. Okay. The city manager, some may say he hold a pocketbook, right? He is the chief executive. Okay. The city staffers, he is like their supervisor. He's responsible for operationalizing city council decisions. So a lot of time before they can make a final decision, when you see those city council meetings, y'all, especially for those that are viewing in Savannah, wherever you at, they have city council meeting. The city manager is involved in that. All right. Okay. The city attorney, that's the city's chief legal advisor. Any legality that the city's going through or the city's being sued somewhere, they got to go to the city attorney. All right. Okay. County manager. We're going to go to the county some too, right? County manager develops and presents annual budget, strives for efficiency, effectiveness, and delivery and funding of services. So a lot of you all who have programs, if you want to go and you justice system impact, or you just a regular individual that ain't never been in touch with the criminal justice system, and you want to start a program, you can go to the county for funding of services that you want to provide for the community. You could address the county manager for that. County commissioners control how land is used in zone. That's important. I'm gonna say that one. The people that's sitting on the county commissioner board, they are responsible and control how land is used in zone. They supervise environmental decisions, decide how the budget is spent in the county, and they can vote also to see how a vacant lot next door to your house is used. That's important because you might can acquire that vacant lot, but you need to be able to get in touch with your county commissioners. If you need zoning, say you need to get your house rezoned for a business, to turn it into a business, that's your county commissioners that you can get to do that for you, to rezone your house from residential to a business, so that you can run a business and get a income coming in. Okay. All right. We know what the district attorney is for, right? But in addition to prosecuting felonies, the district attorney should treat all persons fair and equitable. So not only that, the district attorney's role is also not only to prosecute, but to provide treatment programs. Diversion programs, Julius. And to do that which is fair, equitable. So they ain't supposed to just prosecute.
So there is always somebody that we can find out what their role is and hold them accountable. Even as it relates to incarceration, we know that probably 60 to 70% of our populace has somebody in some form or another is either incarcerated or on some form of probation, parole, or what have you like that. If that is the case, then there is somebody that we can hold accountable for what's going on with this prison reform or lack thereof, or this reentry or lack thereof, correct?
That is correct. So you could contact the district attorney and say, well, my son caught a dope, my brother, my aunt, my uncle, my cousin caught a dope charge. Why are you prosecuting them with 5 or 10 years? Let's put them in a diversion program. Let's put them in a treatment program, especially if they say they're using.
Right.
Well, a lot of people don't know. They don't know they could contact the district attorney office to do that. That's her role and function. It's not just to prosecute.
Right.
Let's talk about sharing.
As they say, Fred, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is causing many of us to be destroyed, right?
No, I like it biblically. I like the biblical perspective.
Okay, come on.
We perish for lack of knowledge.
Preach, boy.
Huh?
Yes,
we are literally perishing, dying, deteriorating because we don't have the right information and we have lack of knowledge. I think that's biblical, isn't it? You a biblical scholar?
That is biblical. As a matter of fact, that's found in Hosea chapter 4, verse 6, if I'm not mistaken. Those of you that are Bible scholars, you can definitely look that up. But what Fred is saying is so true. I hope that those of you that are watching us, I see you, Alexis, those of you that are watching us, if you have a loved one that will benefit from this, and Fred, look in the chat too to make sure that we don't miss what's being said. If you have a loved one that can benefit from what we're saying, or even on a grander scale, Black and brown people, you know that we will benefit if we become informed, educated, motivated, and participate in voting. Go ahead, Fred.
All right, let's talk about the county treasurer and tax commissioner. Mm-hmm. They decide how budget and how money is spent to, watch this now, to prevent foreclosures on properties. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a big one. You can contact the county treasurer, tax commissioner, tax receiver, and tax collector to try to figure out what can you do to avert a foreclosure on a property.
Okay.
How many people have faced foreclosures before? It's a lot. Well, it's something that the county treasurer, tax commissioner, tax receiver, tax collector can do to avert that. Oh, let's talk about the mayor. The mayor presides over all the meetings of the city council, ensures city departments run smoothly, help to build a sense of community, and provide leadership and services to its citizens. Signs contracts and ordinances. Now we came to the city with a proposed city draft for a policy on fair chance hiring and fair chance housing, which could have been turned by the mayor into an ordinance. So it would have became what? Law. So we need to hold them accountable.
Especially, Fred, because one of the fastest growing populations for returning citizens is the homeless, because a lot of us are being denied or rejected housing because of our past, not because of the good that we're doing now, but because of our past. And so now we're hearing that we can hold some of these people accountable so it will change the very things that's going on locally, not just from a government perspective, but from a local perspective. I pray and I hope and I encourage those of you that are listening, please push this, share this with others. Again, we are not in any sense of the matter trying to create division. We are not bashing anyone. We are simply telling you facts, what we can accomplish if we get in the know. Fred, are you looking in the chat to see what's being said?
Oh, yeah. Someone, Darian Campbell, said ignorance doesn't hold up in the court of law. You're exactly right. My people perish for a lack of knowledge. That's true. We just said that, right? And we need to stop allowing politicians to come and feed us a hot fish dinner and give us a cold soda for our vote. That's absolutely right. They got to do more than that. You know what I'm saying? That one time, you don't give a man a fish. You do what? You teach a man to fish.
You teach a man to fish. Exactly. Hey, Fred. Yeah. Look here. Our sister on. Marie said, what up, sister? Marie said, you speak, Fred. Marie, we definitely give a shout out to you and your family at this particular time.
My condolences.
And our condolences. And we will have you back on with your hot topics, as always. And then she says, vote, people, vote. And also, I want to give a shout out to Vanya. She's also checking us out as well. But continue, Fred, how right now as we get ready to turn this corner, Fred, what can we do right now other than the practicality we're doing to encourage people to get out to vote? Tell them the seriousness of what's coming up.
Well, hold up. I want to go through a couple of more, Julie, before we go there, because I want people to know you talked about on the governmental letter. So I want to talk about the governor. I want to talk about the governor, laws of the state, new and revised policies and programs, executive budgets. All right. That's the governor. That's his role. That's what he do. Secretary of State. Now, this is a big one. Because remember, Trump tried to get the Secretary of State and try to find him some more votes. Right. Secretary of State, state securities market, grants, and the issues of passports. And also they're responsible for setting up businesses. So remember, you could go and talk to the Secretary of State if you got business ideas and if you need that passport to be able to travel. Watch this. Agriculture, Commissioner of Agriculture, Mr. Gary Black, right? This is our grocery store. This is our food, right? Being shipped in and shipped out. But guess what else I found out, Julius?
What that?
The Commissioner of Agriculture is also over gasoline quality and pump calibrations.
What?
Let me say that one more time. Not only the warehouses and the food processing plants, but he's over gasoline quality and pump calibration. Now, when I think about pump calibrations, I'm like, they can mess up the way the pumps read, so they can charge us more on gasoline and fuel. Well, you need to address your Commissioner of Agriculture. Insurance Commissioner John King. Fair pricing for insurance products. Protect solvency and insurance companies. Ensure availability of insurance coverage. As justice system impacted people, we need insurance.
So basically what you're saying is there is someone somewhere that can be held accountable for the things that's taking place right now. We just need to know who they are.
Who they are. And that stuff is research. You can Google that stuff. Commissioner of Labor. Labor regulation. That's Mark Butler. Labor regulations. Operation employment insurance. Unemployment insurance. That's a big one. Boy, I couldn't help nobody get in the unemployment office. They had the unemployment office locked down. People wasn't getting their unemployment benefits. We could have contacted Mark Butler. You know how backed up the unemployment office is?
Yep.
And on that, just pay in the workplace. So if you want fair and equitable wages or livable wages, you could put the press on Mark Butler. Here go the last one I'm going to give you. Public Service Commissioner. Now, I had a personal experience with this one. Jason Shaw now is the new Public Service Commissioner. Guess what the Public Service, PSC.
Okay.
Guess what the Public Service Commissioner is in charge of?
What that?
Regulating telecommunications, that 5G network, transportation, y'all. Huh? Why the elderly can't get the right transportation services? Why all the jobs out in some of the certain areas where there's no transportation that go out there? Oh, and here come a biggie. I'm going to really hit you between the eyes with this one. Listen to this, viewing audience. Public Service Commissioner Jason Shaw, I'm telling you who he is responsible for electric and gas services. We paying for Plant Vogtle in the state of Georgia. They taxing us heavily on Plant Vogtle, which is a nuclear plant going to Augusta, Georgia, that's wasting nuclear products all through Georgia, that's affecting our water supply, and we being taxed for it.
Well, you did your homework.
We need to do something about that.
You did your homework, Fred. You did your homework.
And interstate transport. They interstate transporting nuclear waste through Georgia. And you wonder why some people, children coming out with 6 fingers, 12 fingers.
So, Fred, check this out. I see a comment in your chat, but also we got to turn the corner because it's time to get ready to encourage. Why are we here? Well, let me tell you why we're here. First of all, as a returning citizen myself, I don't have the privilege of voting because I'm still on parole, but you do. There are over 80,000 of you that have the opportunity because you're no longer on probation or parole. You have a chance to let your voice be heard. And even if you are on probation or parole, you can still do what I'm doing right now. That is encourage, that is motivate, that is help people to participate in voting. If you want to make a difference, please, we're just simply asking, get out and tell somebody. Get out and vote. Do your homework like Fred did his. Hold people accountable because you know what? They held us accountable, so why not hold them accountable also? Again, we're not here to bring division. We're simply here to educate. So, Fred, as we turn this corner and get ready to come to a conclusion, I want you to encourage 3 people right now in this audience. Encourage those that are still in, encourage those that have come home, and encourage those that are in our community.
Those that are still in, ask if you have not been convicted yet and you've never been convicted, ask for an absentee ballot so that you can still vote. Okay, you can exercise your right. It's a constitutional right.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that people died, bled, and suffered for the right to vote and are still suffering. It's a battle every day. They're trying to take away parts of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. They're gutting it right now as we speak. While we sleeping, they gutting. So if you still in, be encouraged, encourage somebody else to vote. If you can vote, go ahead and get an absentee ballot and vote. If you're still in, I want you to be encouraged that people are boots up on the ground fighting for laws and policies to be changed, holding our elected officials accountable. What's the other two, Julius?
Those that are returning citizens, justice impacted, who have come home recently.
If you've come home, get involved, get engaged on some level. And if you off paper, register, let us register you and get out and vote. Exercise your right. It was a right that was taken away from you, 13th Amendment. Slavery by another name. Right? Indigenous slavery has been abolished except when been punished by a crime or duly convicted. So to have that right back, use it. And what's the last population?
Those that are here in the community that are just not aware.
If you are in the community, do your research, do your homework. Hold the elected officials that come to the church, that come to your house, that come to the community centers, that come to all, hold them accountable for what they say and what they do, and look up what their roles and responsibilities are.
Yes.
Our senators, our representatives. It's not just for them to come and bring somebody here in the middle of the day, the labor commissioner, the public service commissioner in the middle of the day while everybody's working and hurry up and usher them out. No, they need to come 2 or 3 times so people can see them and talk to them. So that you go, oh, he did a great job. He brought the labor commissioner here. No, he brought him in the middle of the day, early in the morning, while everybody working, so nobody can address him. Only just the elderly who ain't working, or people who ain't working that could come there, and that might be 4, 5, 6, 7 people. No, let's bring them in the middle of the eve when everybody off so that we can hold them accountable. And I encourage you, get involved, get engaged, encourage somebody, let them know their vote count, let them know their vote matters. You know, reduce this apathy, and then let's hold it. If we're going to be apathetic, which we hope we're not, if we're going to be indifferent, what can we do to change that indifference? And I'm done, Julius.
Fred, I want to thank you for this opportunity. I'm so excited about what you are saying, because even myself, I've been ignorant in a lot of ways. And for those that are watching, ignorance is not an offensive word. It just simply means that I don't know. And now you do know. And so I want to again thank Fred for what he has come out to do. He has did his homework for us. Now all we have to do is simply share. Would you?
And I got
share
one more thing to say, Julius. Hold on, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I meant to tell you to use the 5-call app. One of my mentors on the radio, Urban View 126, Joe Madison, talk about the 5-call app. It's an app that you can put down on your phone, and it gives you access to every elected official on the local, state, and national and international level, that you can reach them, their numbers, every 5-call app, and that's it.
5-call app. Okay, Fred. And again, Fred has did the homework. All we're asking you to do right now, would you please share this? Share this with somebody. Share this with everybody, because what we did today was simply motivate, encourage you to participate, to get out and vote. That's all we're doing. We can make a difference. Fred said at the beginning that it's in our hands. What are you going to do, pastor? What are you going to do, church member? What are you going to do, returning citizen? Even those that are still on the inside that are listening to us in Jessup jails right now, call home and tell them, get out and vote. That's all we're asking you to do, so that we can make a difference and begin to start holding our officials accountable. Fred, again, I just want to say thank you for what you're doing. Here at Ain't the Ain't, what we love to do is give the platform, provide a safe space for our returning citizens to share, to encourage. And, you know, I always love to say this. Well, before I say what I say, I definitely got to give Julius prop. Julius says, listen, a debt is no longer a debt when it's been paid. And that's what Fred and I are trying to do. We've paid our debt. Now we're trying to encourage you to know that you have power. You do. Your voice does count. And as I say in closing, we may have started this thing out wrong, but look at us right now. Myself, Fred, Marie, Julius, AB, all of us, we are finishing strong. Thank you for joining us tonight on another edition of Incarceration to Incorporation. Fred, I'll see you in the morning as we get out and hit those streets. We see y'all later. Good night. Goodbye. We still on.